Good day everyone. Welcome to the lecture series on power electronics. In this session we shall discuss single phase full converter with B2 connection, that too with continuous load current. Circuit diagram for single phase full converter with B2 connection is shown in this particular diagram. It has got a single phase AC voltage source with voltage across it is equal to Vs with given polarity, that is top terminal positive, bottom terminal negative. This is a single phase AC source, so sinusoidal voltage will appear across this, which is equal to Vm sin omega t. Now the source is connected between A and B terminals, so VAB would be same as Vs, that is equal to Vm sin omega t. Similarly, VBA is equal to minus Vs, that is equal to minus Vm sin omega t. And current is supplied from positive terminal, so this is the conventional way of considering current direction. So this is the current entering into terminal A or so leaving. So this is source current direction considered conventionally. Now there are 4 thyristors which forms bridge. So in fact the bridge converter will have 2 arms. In each arm we have 2 thyristors. So 2 thyristors. So T1, T4 in one arm and T3, T4 in the other arm. Now voltage across each thyristor, so is taken as VT1, VT2, VT3, VT4 respectively for T1, T2, T3 and T4 thyristors respectively. And always polarity of voltage across thyristor is taken this way, that is with anode positive and cathode negative. Current through each thyristor, so current through thyristor from anode to cathode is taken as IT1 for thyristor 1 and IT2 for thyristor 2 and IT3 for thyristor 4 and IT4 for thyristor 3 respectively. Now current direction to thyristors are always taken from anode to cathode. Yes, they are unidirectional switches, so they will allow current from anode to cathode only. So conventional way or conventional direction of the current flowing through thyristor is from anode to cathode. Now so current through load is taken as I0 this way and voltage across load is V0, so with top terminal positive, bottom terminal negative. Assuming this is passive load, current should always enter into positive terminal of the voltage. So that is the convention. And my assumption is that this is highly inductive, load is highly inductive in nature, so current through load is continuous. So load current is considered as continuous. So continuous load current is considered for this case. Now, so if you look at these thyristors, so T1 and T3 are having common terminal, common cathode terminal. So between T1 and T3, the thyristor which has more anode voltage would be forward biased usually, so naturally. So for example, if VA is more than VB, so this terminal A voltage is more, so this would be forward biased. So this would be reverse biased. Similarly, T2 and T4, if you look at T2 and T4, so they have common anode terminal. For all thyristors or diodes which are having common anode, so thyristor which has lesser cathode voltage would be forward biased. For example, so here VB is less than VA, for example. In that case, so VB is less, so this would have more forward voltage, so this would be turned on, or this would be, this is the forward biased. Of course, in order to turn on, so you have to apply gate pulse also apart from forward biasing the thyristor. Unlike diodes, they are uncontrolled switches, so they are unlike diodes, they are controlled switches, semi-controlled switches. In order to turn on this, so you have to apply forward bias voltage and you also need to apply gate pulse. Now consider the source voltage, so that is VAB equal to Vs, that is equal to Vm sin omega t. So V's peak value is equal to Vm. And minus VBA is equal to minus Vs. So VBA is equal to minus Vs, that is shown with this dotted curve. Now during the positive half cycle, A is having more potential than B. So this T1 would be forward bias, at the same time T2 also would be forward bias. So this T1, T3 between these two, so this T1 would have more more anode voltage, so it would be forward bias. Similarly, between T2 and T4 during the positive half cycle, so B is having more negative voltage compared to A, so this T2 would be forward bias naturally. Similarly, in negative half cycle, VAB is negative or VBA is positive, so voltage at B is more than voltage at A during negative half cycle. So under this particular condition, so T3 and T4 are going to be forward bias naturally. In case if you apply voltage, if you apply gate pulse continuously, then T1, T2 are going to be conducting for positive half cycle, T3 and T4 will be conducting for negative half cycle. In case you apply continuous gate pulse, but case would be different. So what I do here, I will apply gate pulse with some firing angle delay. So T1, T2 are naturally forward bias at omega t is equal to 0. Instead of applying gate pulse here, I will apply with some firing angle delay. Let me say that delay is equal to alpha degrees. So at alpha firing angle is applied for T1, T2, and at 5 plus alpha T3, T4 firing angle is applied, and 2 pi plus alpha and 3 pi plus alpha again. So firing angles for T1, T2 and T3, T4 are applied respectively. So this is the gating scheme. So this is the methodology adopted to apply the firing angles for each thyristors. So T1, T2 are fired at a time, and T3, T4 also going to be fired at a time. Now assuming load current is continuous, so thyristor 1 and 2 would be conducting from alpha to pi plus alpha. So 5 plus alpha. So if you see alpha to pi, the voltage across source is positive, and phi to pi plus alpha, voltage across source is negative. Even though you have negative voltage, still T1, T2 are going to be conducting. That is due to the highly inductive nature of the load. Now from omega t ranging from alpha to pi plus alpha, T1, T2 are going to be in forward conduction mode, where T3 and T4 are going to be in reverse blocking mode. So they will be in off state. So during this period, the direction of current from source to load would be this way, that is from source A terminal to thyristor 1 and then load, and then coming back to thyristor 2 and then coming back to B and then to the source. So this is the direction of the current, and during this period T1 and T2 are conducting, voltage across them are going to be 0. Applying KVL for this conducting path loop, Vs would be same as V0. And thyristor 1 current, thyristor 2 current, and load current, source current, all are same, all are equal. So V0 is equal to VAB, which is same as Vs. I0 is equal to IT1, that is equal to IT2, and Is is same as I0. Okay, direction of Is is matching with the direction of the current through thyristors and the load. So I0 is equal to Is. So let us indicate these mathematical expressions graphically. V0 is equal to VAB, so this is VAB, right? So that is indicated with this red curve. Okay, V0 is equal to VAB. And what about I0? I0 is equal to IT1 is equal to IT2 is equal to Is, and this load is inductive in nature, so it would maintain continuous load current. So let me assume that it is starting at some Imin current at omega t is equal to alpha, and as positive voltage is applied across this inductive nature load, so current will rise gradually till positive voltage is applied. So we are applying positive voltage till pi radians, so it would increase, and at omega t is equal to pi, negative voltage would appear across the load, so current would fall gradually this way, and it would reach to again Imin. So it will rise from Imin to Imax from alpha to pi, and then pi to pi plus alpha, it will fall from Imax to Imin. Okay, of course, so this peak value may slightly vary, slightly occur maybe for less angle, maybe before phi also, that is due to the back EMF present in this load. Okay, but more or less usually that would be very near to the pi radians, and during this period T1, T2 are conducting, so I0 is same as thyristor 1 current is same as thyristor 2 current, of course, which is also same as the source current, so it is also same as the source current. Now at omega t is equal to pi plus alpha, so we see that omega t is equal to pi itself, the thyristor T3 and T4 are forward biased. So T3 and T4 are already forward biased, because there is no gate pulse applied, they are not driven into conduction mode. But what I am doing actually, I am applying firing at 5 plus alpha. So due to this gate pulse applied for T3 and T4 at pi plus alpha, so this thyristor T3 and T4 are driven into forward conduction state. That is this way. Now what would happen? The load current would be transferred from T1, T2 to T3, T4. Now T1, T2 are known as outgoing thyristors. T3 and T4 are known as incoming thyristors. So load current would transfer from the outgoing thyristors to incoming thyristors. So T3 and T4 are in forward conduction state and T1, T2 are in reverse blocking state. They are in off state. Now this is the state of the switching. This is the switching state between these angles. So omega t ranging from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So this is the conduction path of the source current as well as the load current. Now for this particular switching state, let us try to apply KVL and KCL. Let us see what is the output voltage and output current respectively. So now, during this period, apply KVL for this conducting loop, and if you apply that, then you can see that voltage across load would be same as VBA. As T3 and T4 are conducting, voltage across them would be 0. So apply KVL for this loop, you will see that B is connected to positive terminal of voltage and A is connected. See, you can see this A is connected to negative terminal of the voltage. So V0 is equal to VBA, that is equal to VBA, which is same as minus Vs, shown with the dotted curve here. And what about I0? I0, the load current is same as the thyristor 3 current and thyristor 4 current. But coming to the direction of the load current and the source current, there is a mismatch. So they are in disagreement. So source current is not same as the load current. It is minus half the load current in fact. Source current is same as minus half the load current. So let us indicate these mathematical expressions graphically. V0 is equal to VBA. Now if you see from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, so V0 is equal to minus VBA, that is this. So that is shown here. So V0. And coming to I0 again, so is from pi plus alpha to 2 pi, so positive voltage will appear across the load. So load current will rise till 2 pi, and then 2 pi onwards it would fall. It would fall to the minimum value at 2 pi plus alpha. And during this period, T3 and T4 are conducting. So T3 and T4 current is same as thyristor 3 and 4 currents are same as the load current. And during this period, if you apply the KCL, you can see that source current is minus half the load current. So load current is always positive. We know that thyristors are unidirectional switches, so current must be this way only. So load current is always in agreement with this conventional direction current. So current is always positive this way. But coming to the source current and load current both are in opposite direction. So during this period, okay, that is omega t ranging from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, IS source current is same as minus of the load current. So minus of the load current is shown here. So this is IS. So this is the operation of single phase bridge full converter for 2 pi radians for one cycle, complete cycle. So alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So same operation would repeat for remaining cycles also. And coming to 0 to alpha, so omega t ranging from 0 to alpha. So during this period, assuming the analysis considered at steady state and load current is continuous, so load current must flow even during this time also. So this omega t is equal to 0 does not refer to the starting, beginning of the circuit connection. In fact, the switch closing. This operation is considered a steady state. In fact, this is the reference point considered to analyze the circuit operation at steady state. So this is the starting point of steady state analysis. It is not exactly time where switch is put into operation. Okay. So this is taken as a reference, in fact. And here also you must have the load current, because load current is continuous, load current must flow, and during this period you can see that T1, T2 are coming into conduction at alpha. Before that, T3 and T4 must conduct, and current through them must be this way. So that should fall this way. And source current would be negative during this period, and load current is also negative. Now, so here if you observe carefully, output voltage will have some negative part also, and this is due to the inductive nature of the load, and due to this negative portion of the voltage, average value of voltage would reduce because the area under curve is reducing automatically, so it results in less value of output voltage. Usually output voltage would be would be reduced due to this negative portion of the voltage. Now this is about the operation of the single phase bridge converter. Now coming to the conduction period, you can see the T1 and T2 are conducting for this particular period, that is from alpha to pi plus alpha, and the duration, if you measure, that is equal to pi radians. So the conducting angle, thyristor 1, thyristor 2 conduction angle are equal, and that is equal to pi radians. Similarly for thyristor 3 and 4 also, you can see once again, so they are conducting from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So conduction angle again for thyristor 2 and 4 also, it is same as pi radians. So overall for any thyristor, the conduction period is conduction angle is equal to pi radians. Now let us see how to compute the input and output voltages and currents. So their average values and RMS values. Now we have seen operation. So from the operation we have seen the waveforms of output voltage, output current, and input currents are is shown in this particular graphs. Okay, so let us try to express the voltage, output voltage and output current and input current mathematically. Before that, you can note one thing. So you can see that the frequency of the output voltage and output current is equal to double to that of the supply frequency. See, by the time input voltage or input current is completing one cycle, output voltage or output currents, they are completing 2 cycles. So frequency of them is double. In fact, they are, so here in angle, so input voltage and current, they are repeating for every 2 pi radians, but output voltage and output currents are repeating for every pi radians. So while computing the average value for output voltage or output current, so consider only pi radians as the angle to complete one cycle. So considering average value for pi radians or RMS value for pi radians is sufficient to calculate or to compute the RMS and average values. Let us see. So now let us see V0 value. V0 is equal to Vm sin omega t from alpha to pi plus alpha, right? And same thing will repeat for every pi radians. Coming to the load current expression, so in order to find out load current expression, we have to solve either this equation or this equation. That is, V0 is equal to R into I0 plus L into di0 by dt plus E in case of RLE load. In case of it is RLE load, E is equal to 0. Put E is equal to 0 and solve this mathematical expression. And if you know this minimum value of the output current and maximum value of output current, you can use them as initial and final condition. You can solve this differential equation in order to obtain mathematical expression for the output current. And we know the input current expression is as follows, that is 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 equal to I0 for omega t ranging from alpha to pi plus alpha, and that is equal to minus I0 for omega t ranging from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, and frequency of this input current is same as the supply frequency. Okay, output frequency is double input frequency, so for current and voltage that is same as Fs only. So here Fs is input supply frequency and F0 that is output voltage or current frequency. Now let us try to compute average and RMS value of input voltage, output current, RMS respectively. So average value of output voltage, this is the formula. V0 is equal to consider the area under the V0 over one cycle, that is for alpha to pi plus alpha, and divided by pi gives us the average value. And if you do that, so V0 during this period equal to Vm sin omega t, and simplify this further, you will get 2 Vm by pi into cos alpha. I request you to go through this derivation, so please do it by your own. Okay, so there is one more step here so involved, so please do it and you will get this result. Similarly, RMS value, so we know the formula to compute RMS value is this, that is square the voltage waveform and take its mean, apply square root, gives us the RMS value. So please do it. So I strongly recommend you to derive this, and you will get the value is equal to Vm by root 2. So simple manipulation, anybody can do it. Simple mathematical manipulation, anybody can do it, and anybody can obtain this Vm by 2 root 2. Okay, so simple. If you know the simple, the integral calculus, so I hope you can do it. So please do it. Average value of output current. So formula is this. If you know the mathematical expression for I naught, so once again, so take the mean value, you will get the average current. So this is the way to get. So the angle to complete one cycle is pi. So consider the integration over alpha to pi plus alpha only for one cycle of the output current. And usually for the RLE load, average voltage across inductor is 0. So from that you will you will get this result, that is average value of voltage across load is equal to average value of voltage across resistor plus average, the battery voltage, and voltage across inductor is 0. No need to consider that. And voltage across resistance is equal to I naught into R. So I naught into R plus E would be V naught. So from this expression you will get I naught is equal to V naught minus E by R, where V naught is the average value of output voltage, E is battery voltage, R is resistance value. This way one can compute the average value of output current directly. Coming to RMS value, so this is the formula. So take the mean value of square root of the output current and apply square root, you will get the RMS value. RMS value of input voltage, we know that is equal to Vm by root 2. Vm is the peak value of input supply voltage. So Vm by root 2 is RMS value. Coming to the RMS value of output current, so we know the output current expression is equal to, from the graph you can observe that Is is equal to I naught from alpha to pi plus alpha, that is equal to minus I naught from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So substitute that and calculate the RMS value of input current. So frequency of this is equal to same as supply frequency. So you have to integrate for one entire cycle, where one cycle would complete within 2 pi radians. So you have to consider 2 pi radians here. So you have to integrate for 2 pi radians. So alpha to 2 pi plus alpha you have to integrate. So please do that. And we know for alpha to pi plus alpha it is I naught, and I naught, and from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha it is minus I naught. But square of minus I naught square is same as I naught square. And if you simplify it further, so you would get, so this value is equal to this value, both are equal. So what I do, I write this entire expression as 2 into integration of I naught square d omega t, where omega t ranging from alpha to pi plus alpha, then 2 will cancel out. So the result is 1 by pi into so this expression, that is integration of I naught square d omega t, where omega t ranging from alpha to pi plus alpha. So this is same as the RMS value of the output current. So RMS value of input current is same as RMS value of output current. Now let us use these parameters in order to find out input power factor. This is one of the important parameters to evaluate the performance of the rectifier. We know input power factor is equal to power supply by the source by input VA, and power supply by source is same as power received by the load in this particular case, because there are no other elements which can receive the power. And we know power received by the load is equal to P naught. Let me indicate by P naught, which is equal to power received by the resistor and battery. Inductor would not take any power. So by assuming that load is RLE load, R would take power and E would take power, battery would take power, but L, that is inductor, won't take any power. So power absorbed by load is equal to power absorbed by resistor plus power absorbed by battery. So power absorbed by resistor is equal to RMS value of current to resistor square into resistance value, and power absorbed by battery is equal to battery voltage into average value of current flowing to the battery. Coming to the input voltage RMS value, Vs is equal to Vm by root 2, which is same as VOR, right? That is same as RMS value of the output voltage. RMS value of input current is same as RMS value of the output current. So both are equal. So substitute these P naught, Vs and Is in the formula, you get input power factor is equal to power absorbed by resistor plus power absorbed by battery by Vs into Is, where Is is equal to IOR. Is is equal to IOR. So this is the formula, general formula to compute the input power factor for single phase full converter with continuous load current. So further, if I assume that inductance is very large and load current is almost ripple free, so that is constant. So in this case, voltage across inductor is 0 again. So average value of voltage across inductor is 0, and we know that I naught is equal to V naught minus E by R, right? And because load current is ripple free, its RMS value and average value are going to be equal, and in fact that is equal to V naught minus E by R. So the average value would be same as its value throughout the time period, which is same as RMS value, and that can be computed using this formula, that is V naught minus E by R. and I naught and IOR both are equal. So in the formula for P naught, that is the power absorbed by load, so we replace IOR by I naught, and if you simplify further, you get this P naught, that is power absorbed by load, is equal to V naught into I naught, that is average value of output voltage and average value of output current. So substitute this in place of V naught, P naught in input power factor. You would get input power factor is equal to V naught into I naught by Vs into Is, and Is is same as IOR and IOR is same as I naught. So both would cancel out. You would get input power factor value is equal to V naught by Vs, and that is equal to 0.9 cos alpha. So V naught is equal to, we know, that is 2 Vm by cos alpha. Vs is equal to Vm by root 2. Substitute them, you would get that is equal to 0.9 into cos alpha. So 2 root 2 by pi value is equal to 0.9. So substitute that, you will get that is equal to 0.9 cos alpha. So in case the load is RL load only, there is no battery present, then in that case you can substitute E is equal to 0. Still you can use the formula. So in this formula you substitute E is equal to 0. E is equal to 0, and you will get the same answer. In fact, you will get same answer as 0.9 cos alpha again, where alpha is the firing angle of the each thyristor. Coming to the thyristor current, so it is also important to know the average and RMS value of thyristor current ratings. Thyristor current, so that we can select the appropriate rating for the thyristors, thyristors with the appropriate ratings for the for designing the full bridge converter. Now here we know already I naught would be this way, right? I naught is continuous and alpha to pi plus alpha, so T1 T2 would conduct, and pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, T3 and T4 are conducting, assuming that load current is continuous. Now if you want to consider only thyristor 1 current, so thyristor 1 would conduct from alpha to pi plus alpha, and pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, thyristor 3 and 4 are conducting, and during that period thyristor 1 and 2 are not conducting, so current to them would be 0, and same thing will repeat. So thyristor 1 and 2 are going to conduct per pi radians. Okay, similarly thyristor 2, so now sorry, this is not IT1, it is IT2. So thyristor 2 would conduct from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. So output current is same as the thyristor 3 and 4 current for this range of omega t, that is alpha, pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha. It is same as the output current. So this would repeat again, this also would repeat. So pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, 3 pi plus alpha to 4 pi plus alpha, and so on. So the current to thyristor 3 and 4 would be flowing. Now in order to compute the average and RMS value, first of all let you see let us find out frequency of the thyristor currents IT1 and IT2, and if you see the frequency of them is same as supply frequency. You see the current pattern, so waveform is repeating for every 2 pi radians. So frequency of thyristor 1 current and thyristor 2 currents are same as the supply frequency. Okay, so it is same as the supply frequency. So in order to compute average value of thyristor 1 or thyristor 2, you have to take its mean value for entire 2 pi radians. And one more important observation, you can see that IT1 and IT2 are having same pattern of of wave shape with some phase shift. So average value for thyristor 1 and thyristor 3, I'm sorry, this is thyristor 3. So thyristor 2 and thyristor 1 and thyristor 3, so they would have same average value. Of course thyristor 1 and thyristor 2 would have same current. So thyristor 1 average current is same as thyristor 2 average current. Thyristor 3 average current is same as thyristor 4 average current. So please make this correction. Here it is IT3, it is not IT1, it is IT3. So average current for all thyristors are going to be equal, so which is indicated by ITA. Similarly, RMS value of our thyristors also going to be same. So please do verify. You will get all thyristors would have the you will get this result. That is, all thyristors would have same RMS value of thyristor current. And we know average value can be computed this way. So you have to integrate IT1 for entire period, that is from alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, and then take its mean. You will get the average value of thyristor current, and this value is equal to 1 by 2 into average value. Now this you see this is average value of output current. So 1 by 2 into average value of output current. Okay. So please whenever you have find that time, please go through this derivation again. Okay. So it is very simple derivation, anybody can understand. Similarly, coming to RMS value of thyristor current, so we know the formula is this. So take the mean value of square of the thyristor current and apply square root, you will get, okay, and go to this derivation also. And if you do this, so you can see that it is equal to square root 1 by 2 into RMS value of output current square. Now if you simplify it further, you will get IOR by root 2. So this is also a very simple derivation. So please go through it whenever you find time. So it is also important to know circuit turn-off time, because the switches that are used here are thyristors. So thyristor, in order to turn off thyristors, one has to make sure that current through them is 0, and then one has to apply the reverse voltage for at least some amount of period, and that period must be greater than the device turn-off time. So and time period during which we apply reverse voltage after current through thyristor becoming 0 is known as circuit turn-off time. And during that period, thyristor has to regain its blocking capability. It has to regain its blocking capability so that it is completely turned off. And the time taken by device usually to turn off completely is known as device turn off time. So device turn off time must be less than circuit turn off time, or circuit turn off time should be more than the device turn off time. So let me repeat. The device, for example, device would take 2 microseconds to turn off completely, for example. So circuit turn off time should be more than 2 microseconds, so that circuit would ensure that thyristor is properly turned off. If circuit turn off time is less, so circuit is not giving enough time to device to turn off. So for example, device turn off time is 2 microseconds and circuit turn off time is 1 microseconds. So what does it mean? So before device is completely turned off, so we are applying the forward voltage again. So before it is gaining its blocking capability, we are applying forward voltage. So that would lead to unwanted turn on. So and this can be avoided by maintaining circuit turn off time more than the device turn off time. Now anyway, in order to find out circuit turn off time, let us consider once again the voltage input, output voltages and output current waveforms again. Now we know for omega t ranging from alpha to pi plus alpha, so this is the current path. So T1 and T2 are going to be conducting, voltage across them would be 0. And coming to voltage across T3 with anode positive, cathode negative, you can see that A is connected to this cathode of the, so because it is shorted, T1 is shorted, so this terminal voltage, terminal A voltage is same as the cathode voltage of T3. Similarly, terminal B voltage is same as anode voltage of T3. Coming to T4, so same thing. So for T4 also, so cathode voltage is same as the terminal A voltage, and anode voltage would be same as B voltage because it is shorted, no? So this voltage at the anode terminal of T4 is same as B. So voltage across the thyristor 3 and 4 both are equal, and that is equal to VBA. So VBA. So during this period, VT1 and VT2 are going to be 0, and VT3 and VT4 are going to be same as VBA, which is same as minus VS. So during this period, so let us indicate that VT1 and VT2 both are going to be 0, and VT3, I'm sorry again, so this make this correction, here it is VT3, it is not VT2, it is VT3. Of course VT3 is same as VT4. So during this period, that is from alpha to pi plus alpha, VT2 is same as minus Vs. So what is minus Vs? So that is shown with the dotted line. So this, that is this. So that is shown. Okay. And what would happen from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha? So during pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, so this is the current path, right? So diode, thyristor T3 and T4 are conducting. So this A is directly connected. So A is shorted. You can see this terminal A is shorted to this terminal, that is anode terminal of T2 through this conducting thyristor. Similarly, terminal B is going to be shorted or connected to cathode of the terminal B is connected to cathode of the thyristor 1 through this short circuit path through thyristor 3, because it is connecting, it acts as short circuit. Now if you find voltage across T1 and T2 during this period, so voltage across T1 would be same as VAB, and T2 also going to be same as VAB. Okay, because you see, so cathode voltage, anode voltage is same as VA, and cathode voltage is same as VB. So VAB is voltage across T1 and T2. Coming to voltage across T3 and T4, both are conducting, so voltage across them is going to be 0. So that is indicated this way. So for VT3 and VT4, so I'm sorry, it is VT3. So VT3 and VT4 are going to be conducting. So let me make this correction first. So this is VT3. Okay, voltage across VT1 is same as VAB. So see here, pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha, VAB is voltage across T1 and T2, and T3, T4 they are having 0 voltage. And this is the operation, this is the voltage pattern, voltage wave shape for voltage across thyristor 1 and thyristor 3 respectively for alpha to 2 pi plus alpha for complete 2 pi radians. And same thing would repeat for remaining cycles also. Now from this, let us try to find out circuit turn-off time. So this is circuit turn-off time. Omega Tc1 is circuit turn-off time. And if you measure the period during which the voltage across thyristor 1 is negative after current becomes 0, so that is equal to, so if you see this is 2 pi and this is pi plus alpha. So the difference, the conduction, this period indicated by omega Tc1, so that is equal to pi minus alpha. Similarly for this also, for thyristor 3 also, you can see after thyristor 3 current becoming 0, we are applying negative reverse voltage for this period, which is equal to again pi minus alpha. So omega T into C for thyristor 2 and thyristor 3, I'm sorry again, so here it is thyristor 3. So this is omega Tc3. So for any thyristor, omega into circuit turn-off time would be pi minus alpha, and from this you can find out circuit turn-off time, that is Tc is equal to pi minus alpha by omega. Coming to the peak inverse voltage, you can measure the peak inverse voltage is equal to Vm and Vm respectively for thyristor 1 and thyristor 3 respectively, which would be same for thyristor 2 and 4 also. And this is true for alpha less than 90 degrees. If alpha is greater than 90 degrees, of course, it would be less than Vm. It would be less than Vm. Okay, that is going to be magnitude of Vm sin alpha. So that you can try out. You can try to sketch VT1 and VT3 for alpha greater than 90 also. From that, you would see that peak inverse voltage equal to Vm sin alpha magnitude. Yeah. Coming to the single phase midpoint converter, coming to the summary of the single phase full wave midpoint converter, single phase full wave bridge converter. I'm sorry, it is not bridge converter, it is not midpoint converter, it is bridge converter. So for single phase full wave bridge converter, so let us see what are the observations. The first one, so for reliable turn-off time, one must maintain circuit turn-off greater than the device turn-off time. That is true for any converter in fact. And when incoming thyristor is gated on, the outgoing thyristors are reverse biased by the supply voltage. So the commutation is known as line commutation or natural commutation. There is no separate the circuit to be designed in order to apply reverse voltage. So it would happen, it happens naturally, which is known as line commutation. So the converters are known as line commutator or natural commutator converters. And load current would be usually transferred from incoming thyristor, outgoing thyristors to incoming thyristors. Okay, load current would be transferred to incoming thyristors from the outgoing thyristors. And one of the major important advantage of the full wave bridge converter is that peak inverse voltage equal to Vm, that is same as supply voltage. So rating of the device is reduced by 50%. The voltage rating of device. Previously for midband converter it is 2 Vm. Now for bridge converter, each thyristor would the rating, peak inverse voltage rating is reduced by 50%. It is equal to Vm. This is one of the important advantages. Even though you require 4 thyristors, where in case of midpoint converter you require only 2 thyristors. So still it is advantageous because the size cost would be reduced. In case of midband converter, you require transformer also, right? So we have the midpoint tapping transformer, which is costly effect. So let us compare the midpoint converter with bridge converter. So peak inverse voltage for each SCR for midpoint converter is 2 Vm, for assuming alpha is less than 90 degrees. And for peak inverse voltage for SCR for bridge converter is Vm, so it is 50%. So rating of SCR, each SCR would be reduced by 50%. Transformer rating, if you see, for midpoint converter, you require 2 into load rating, right? Because only 50% of the transformer secondary would be transferring power. So you require that kind of 2 parts. So overall rating of 2 parts together in secondary winding, so that is going to be 2 into load rating, where transformer rating for bridge converter is equal to load rating. So from these two, from this two, you can say that the cost, size, and cost and size of the bridge converter would be somewhat less. In fact, for same voltage and current rating of SCRs, power handled by midpoint converter is half of that handled by the bridge converter. So this is one of the disadvantage with the midpoint converter. So bridge configuration is preferred over midpoint configuration due to this advantage. Okay, it can handle double power. It can handle double the energy or double power that can be handled by the midpoint converter. So this is one of the advantages. So now onwards, our focus would be on bridge configuration only. Okay, so this is about the full wave bridge converter with continuous load current. So thank you.